Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alla. Thank you very much, all my friends. And special appreciation is for the project pandemic media space, because it's very current, and it's also quite extended in a way of different perspective, different references. And also because it's on the development, so we are on the very special moment of the project. Really great for the sponsors, and I'm very happy that we did it as a cooperation between two important institutions in Ukraine and in Poland. And we are connected with those institutions very much, so that's why I think it's quite important to talk and to create this kind of cooperation with so many people are involved in one project. Wait a minute, I just check whether I'm on the first slide. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Perhaps I choose not the right one. Wait a minute. I think that would be better. Wait a minute, because I just make a check before as a test, and I choose another one. This is the right one. Okay. Now I think it's correct. The date is correct. Yes, 7th of November 2020. There were other version of the project, but with different aspects. So that's really important to choose the right one. Here, what you see in front of me, I will start the full screen. Do you see the full screen? Do you see the list of projects? So here you have the different projects. I think I make a small interruption again before I really start, because I sent on chat, I sent my presentation in PDF. Please check it out on PDF, whether you have it or not. If not, I can send it once more again, because
no, there are nothing in the chat.
Okay, so I will load it once more, because that is synchronized in a way that you need to be present on a connection to get it. Okay, here it's not very small. It's 10 megabytes, but it's moving. It's going on. It's on load. And that's my proposal, that you will, during my speech, you can download it. You can open it as a PDF, not to check whether I'm moving on the plan, but mainly because it includes active links. You understand? In Zoom, if I click on active link, it opens a browser which is not shared in Zoom. So then I will lose a lot of extra time to changing, sharing, and it's better to share just, in this case, Keynote, not the screen, because then it gets a little bit chaotic. So then you will have this, the contents with the active links. Once you can check it during my speech, but you can also check it afterwards. So this is the purpose that I prepared as a PDF. So there are not films, movies, but you can do it simultaneously with me, and you can check it. Okay. So did you get it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's great. That's really great, and it's really helpful. So here in front of you, we have a list of different projects. I'm not talking only about NetArt projects, but the whole circumstances, the whole space of references, because there are they have a very specific contents, but there are also very specific structure. And the structure of NetArt projects and global projects are mainly considering a space as a real dimension, but also as a space as a intimate, virtual, mimetic equivalent of something, and that those aspects are extremely important for our talk. But historically, I want to mention about about several projects. I will skip them quite quickly during the show because there are many of them. And telephone concert was quite old and quite early. We produced the concert connecting 3 cities, Toronto, Vienna, and Warsaw, by the live concert. So try to imagine there were 3 rooms in each city, 1 room with the active chamber ensemble, and 2 rooms with the audio system. Then we connect those 3 cities by telephone line, by international call. It cost something in '83, but what was quite interesting, we've got it not quite high quality, but almost without latency, without delay, which is the biggest struggle for all NetArt projects. Of course, we are using systems like Zoom, like Skype before, like other communicators, and they are solving the problem. But still, the problem is quite significant. Mostly we can solve it. Sometimes we use the long delay, and I'm using the long delay for GPS art project, for example. But in this case, in '83, we didn't find a problem. So the latency was not so long. And that was quite interesting because those 3 rooms were interconnected. And in fact, I can show it here. Not here. I can show it the diagram of the telephone concert, 4 of December 1983. Those 3 ensembles were interconnected with each other, but there's 3 rooms shared, interconnected, was quite special stage for the people moving during this event. So they were moving from one room to another one, watching and hearing the other ensemble. So in fact, they were mixing, they were making the natural mix between those ensembles. So that was also quite specific concept in 1983. So quite early, just after martial law in Poland. In fact, there was quite strange and special moment for the culture event in this time. I come back to the list, so you see some other project. I will talk about them briefly. So they are mostly the projects. Some of them are underlined, so you can click and you can go directly to them to check the contents. Especially GPS art, which is a quite large project with 16 independent performances in different countries, in different continents. So that is, it needs time. And I have only 2 slides for this project in my presentation, because either I'm talking about GPS art for several lectures, or I'm concentrating on the global overview of the subject. So that's telephone concert. This is the slide about global mix. I recommend you to go to the website of the project. But my idea in 1998 was to check the royalties and the status of royalty minds of composers. So I sent the invitation for more than 300 composers all over the world, inviting them for collaborative composition, where we share the music and we mix the music together. The limit of those single personal compositions was 3 minutes, following another special copyright rules. But the most important element of the project was to leave the ownership of your pieces. So I asked them to cut the royalties. So when you decided to be a part of the global mix, the first act was to cut, to leave the piece from your hands. You are not any more longer the owner of your piece. And where you are able to do it, in the same moment, you get the ownership of all other pieces. So that was like a idealistic concept. Check, invitation, a special status and a special proof for my friends all over the world. In fact, I've got very strange reactions. The were first group was very enthusiastic. They were so happy to do it. And they said, Marek, whoa, that's a great idea. Okay. So that was the first reaction. The second reaction was just nothing, okay, which is typical, okay. So we don't know exactly what happens, but perhaps you can talk about like, well, we are not interested in, okay. And the third group was quite interesting because there was a group of doubts, questions, discussions, like, okay, Marek, but tell me, what about quality? Because you ask us for the short, up to 3 minutes audio pieces, but when you send it over the internet, you know, look at the year 1998. So there was a critical problem with the. But in fact, we were not talking too much. And then my answer was, well, the project is about communication, about the reality, not really about audio quality of the pieces. You know, we are building up the collaborative composition. So in fact, you know, we don't know exactly what will be the final outcome of also including quality. So in fact, the third group was again divided for those who didn't respond again, or those who were saying, oh, okay, Marek, let's try to make that's interesting experiment. So we've got many pieces. You should go to the website of the Global Mix, and you can see them. You can list them. In this time, I was playing Global Mix as a part of the program, mixing those pieces together, creating all the time different mixes. There was quite nice restriction when somebody sent me a longer piece than 3 minutes, then it acted as anonymous. There was no author of the piece. So there was a special restriction dedication. Okay, that's Global Mix, which is a special NetArt piece and special challenge for many of my friends, and there was still some discussion. I was presenting this project on the lawyer conferences. Can you imagine? I was coming and we were discussing about royalty, and I was showing this, explaining, and in many cases they say, well, it's forbidden to do it. That was one of the action. What are you doing? And then I was telling them, well, you know, when I go over the city and I have a jacket which is not really nice for me, I'm leaving them in the park. Can I do it the same with a piece of music? And then in many cases there was a silence because it was the example was too simple, you know, just to say. And they said, well, in fact, I did it, you know, several times, and people, the homeless people are taking this, and they belong to them, you know. So why not doing this with the music pieces? We can share. The sharing is the concept, in fact, of this. But it was quite nice and quite intensive in this time to talk about Global Mix. Okay, next one is from my list is Art Boat. I was on the way to run a boat from Krakow through Vistula River, our bigger river, to Warsaw, and then to Baltic Sea. I've got a similar project in Norway, in Bergen. So with Norwegian artists, we get the idea that perhaps we can meet on Bornholm Island. There's an island in Baltic Sea, and I was really crazy about the project to go to the large macro scale and use a boat as a special stage. You see on the diagram with the balloon above, because when you are navigate by boat on the Vistula, you cannot travel in the night. So I've got the idea that in the night I will present a silent movies on the white balloon, which in my imagination will stay somewhere in the middle of Poland, you know, between some villages on the water. So that was one idea. Another idea was to put a camera underwater, and in one cabin of the boat, you could see a dirty water of the Vistula River. So in fact, you didn't see anything, just a blurred and dirty screen. So there were a lot of bizarre and abstract concepts, but in fact, I was trying to use a boat as a performer with many sensors measuring the distance to the left, right side of the river, the distance to the bottom of the river, also checking the daylight, night light, a speed of wind, the humidity, that was a lot of concern about this. And also all cities had some music sound material which were mixing with other material. So there was also like a multi-day, many days sound installation with the boat, with the artists inside. In fact, I invited a group of, there were more than 100 artists involved in the project. But in fact, I didn't run the project because the owner of the boat gave it up 2 weeks before the show. He said that, well, the level of the water is too low, so maybe we can do it after 4 months. Looking for the weather reports, you know, the calendar, not now, the September, but maybe in the springtime, it will be better. So in fact, we postpone it, you know, we were waiting like 1 year, but next year, 2001, we have a lot of flood in Poland. So I really gave up because of the moral viewpoint. So that you can check this project on the website. Okay. So yes, I forgot about this text. Both with balloon above and camera under, external and internal networking. We've been using 16 mobile phones. We rented, we've got a special contract with the biggest mobile company in Poland. And we are moving with those mobile phones for 3 months, but not running the project. But that's how we start the next project. Next project, which is GPS art, was initiated just 2 months after Artbow, which didn't start. So I had 16 mobile phones with my friends. They look very, very fancy. They were just exactly the Nokia mobile phones used in Matrix. When you remember Matrix, there was a new model of mobile phone, and we've got the chance to use them. So we're just walking over the street, showing them, you know, they were like a slided cover of deep green mobile phone, really fancy in this time. But we stay with those mobile phones, and then I've got this new project, just checking the city. But in fact, when I was landing by airplane to Krakow back, I look at the map of Krakow, which you see on the left, and then I've got the impression that the structure of the city is very similar to pizza, with those colors, you know, and the texture is quite beautiful. So then I ask myself, what about cutting the city by small slices, like a small slices of pizza? And I start to navigate the project in this way, that the city was divided for different sectors. We start a field recording of the city. Hundreds audio recording was done. And then we run a project where the city is treated as a mega audio and video container and sampler. This is the main idea. Also, I recommend you to go to the website of GPS. Then you have 16 different performances, quite complex, quite different. We build up. The first 3 were just on internet. The stage was on internet. We call it internet arena. and we navigate only with this. The city map was used as a very specific graphic score. So topographic elements of the project was also involved in this project. It's quite important for me. Once, because we use a large scale, and then we build up a quite complex patch in Max and Jitter later to navigate all those city data live and to process. So the main model, I don't know whether it's here, the next slide. Yes, I'm just mentioning about three technologies which were interconnected in this project: GPS, GSM, internet. In fact, in 2000, getting GPS was not so easy. There were no mobile phone with GPS. Even the external GPS were relatively expensive. So we've got the Garmin, the cheapest model, and we're spending some time to build up a special converters to get those data to the computer. But here is just a repetition, the diagram, how it looks like. You see, I keep the old Ericsson mobile phone, and then you see the part of my old MacBook Black from 2000, which are on my knees in the car. Why? Because a car, as you see on the slide, became a performer. So in fact, with all those recordings, they were loaded to the server, waiting for controlling data. And the controlling data was received from GPS, connected with mobile phone, connected with the laptop. And that was the system inside the car. The car moving over the city was playing those, was triggering, initiating those samples, the material, mix them up. We build up a 3D invisible tent with the stick, which determines the volume of the material. So the car was determining the place where we are, and those all samples were playing all together, but the most loud were the samples where the car was located. In fact, as you know, we have X, Y, Z, three basic axes, and XY was the most important for the POI, for points of interest in this project. Quite complex. I don't want to spend too much time because, as I said, either we are spending several lectures and I am showing those patches, and we make a test with our GPS in our mobile phones, or we skip to another subject because it's really large and complex. So then the next project, I just stop with my project. I show the project by my student, Timothy Maximenko, living in London. He were rotating between Spain and the UK for several years, but graduated with Blind Map Sound Labyrinth with me 2018. And the project also, please go there and check it, because it's like a blind place where you navigate a city by audio signal. So we are in this installation, you are surrounded by 4 speakers, but you have the plate with 4 buttons in the darkness. You more feel them than see them. And when you are getting some whispering voices around you, you have to find out where the voice comes from. So when you hear and you think that it's in front of you, so then you push the button in front. So it's a kind of game, also quite mysterious game. And then after following your decision, you start to move to certain directions. So we are moving over the city, getting some sounds of the city, and navigated by this whispered magical female voice which talk to you. Hello, where I am, I'm here with you. And then when you are choosing wrong, then the sound, alarm sound is running and you have to try again. So it's a quite beautiful story we presented during the Audio Art Festival. Like all my diplomas of my students are presented during the diploma. So in Bunkersztuki, you could really dive. You can really get lost with this installation. It's quite interesting. There are many common elements with GPS. That's why I put this work here, and it's also quite nice as a networking concept, because the network is inside your mind. Mostly you are navigating through the city in a darkness, in a like a completely black city, following only the sound. It's quite a nice bonus on the end when we are able finally to get outside of the city. You are getting the spiral tunnel and you are rotated and going somewhere else, which is not the city anymore longer. So that's a quite spectacular project by Timothy. Then we go to another spectacular concept of wave field synthesis invented in IRCAM. And I don't know whether you know what does it mean. This is the special extended multi-channel system as a mega acousmatic, because in fact the concept is based on 100 speakers surrounding the space. In Technische Universität in Berlin, they have a hall with 2,400 speakers. There are 800 panels with 8 speakers in each. The distance is calculated very much to get all frequencies working properly together. The whole system is driven by the set cluster of computers, desktop computers, but it looks quite, they're not mobile, but they stay in one room. And the system is mainly designed to create an open sound trajectory. So you can create any point in a space you wish, and then the trajectory are not only going based on the multi-channel system, moving, but you can really get the very complicated routines on the topographic aspect of the sound. Why I'm talking about this? Because I was fascinated about the idea, and it looks that's a small image from the early status of the experiments in IRCAM. You know, when I put it just the line of the speakers to check how does it work. That's very important. But in fact, it's a very big difference influence for my concept called vertical orchestra. And the vertical orchestra is a wave field synthesis acoustic. So try to imagine we have the orchestra for hundreds of years, smaller in Baroque time, then bigger and bigger and bigger. Try to imagine when we are on the concert hall, you listen to music in a space, but usually we listen the complex of sound resonating in this space. We are not really concerned about the specific sound in a classical repertoire, more or less. The spatial aspect of the orchestra came later. But my first idea was, I see them like here, I hear them like here. What about if I will lift the orchestra to the vertical position? So the front of the stage stays as it is, but the back of the stage will go up. Of course, they will fall down. That's for sure. But I was just thinking about the instruments as a point in the horizontal line, and they try to move them up to add a vertical axis. But how to do it? So the concept was, special dedication to the Academy of Music in Krakow and the building of the Academy of Music. You remember, all of you were in Krakow, so they planted the green pedestrian passage surrounding in place of the medieval walls the whole city. So in front of the building we have a very nice space, and the building is 6 floors high with 8 rooms on each floor. So 6 times 8 is 48. So my idea was to put the orchestra inside a window. So to distribute them in the way that each musician is in one window. And then there was a concept of virtual stage, in fact, more than virtual orchestra, but just to understand the dimension. And then I was thinking about the concert in the dark, in the night, where all lights around the Academy of Music was completely dark. I managed this, in fact, with the president of the city. We had almost the project ready. And then when the musician stays in the window, there's the second person in the room which switch the light in the room when the instrument play. So when you are outside of the building, you hear the sound of oboe, but also you see where the oboe is. In fact, you see the place where the oboe is playing from. So this is a field synthesis, you know, in an acoustic form. So you have those points in front of you, and you hear the sounds moving not only left, right, but also up and down. So this is a 3D stage in this case. So I was thinking about classical repertoire like Fireworks by Handel. I was thinking about Bolero by Ravel, which is a spectacular piece starting from one window to whole building flashing and playing. And then the special repertoire in the 20th century music is topophonic repertoire. The great pieces, Jonchée by Xenakis, which consider the element of the instrument location in orchestra. So you are adding this extra element to your orchestration, the movement of the sound as a form of dialogue, but also like a complex movement. And in Topophonica by Schäfer, the sound goes from the first violin on the left and moving to the middle of the orchestra, and then goes down to the contrabasses, double basses section, you know. So the sound moves like a wipe in the track, you know, like, and you can really navigate. So that was a consideration about the program of the concert, because my design was mostly about stage and how the orchestra is distributed. The last repertoire was coming from the visual part. So I start to think how I can write a letter A on the front wall of the Academy of Music. So I have an empty score for orchestra in front of me, and I make the indication in the score what instrument should play in what place to create a letter A. So at first I prepared the score without notes, just with the light marks, you know, and then the later stage was to put the music material. So that was quite different, different than the classical repertoire. And then the quite important issue was how to synchronize the orchestra with this issue. So we were ready to use the wireless headphones. The rehearsal of the concert was done in a regular concert hall of the Academy, and then just 2 days before the show, we're starting to work with the wireless headphone, also for the conductor. There were 2 conductors, one responsible of the clicks sent also in certain moments, and then the final result was like a solo performances with click track. All pieces were synchronized by click track. And I was even not canceling the conductor. I was thinking the conductor should be like an actor on the special platform in front of the academy above the second floor, you know, staying and conducting the wall. You know, it was like a spectacular project, also with the headphones with the click track. So the click track was also for him to move hands in the right moments, you know, just not to conduct really the orchestra. So that's the vertical orchestra concept, acoustic wave field synthesis, what I call, because the stimulation of the so I'm putting this as a very specific networking concept because of this final network between musicians synchronized by the system, mainly to be together, but because they don't hear each other. So that was quite important aspect. Then I have a nice project, many of video mapping with Miłosz Uczyński and other artists. So I recommend you to go there. Especially visual aspect is very unique because he was building up a real place with ants, grasses, developing the natural elements and animals being inside for weeks, making the snapshots, short videos, and finally create this mapping project. So in fact, on this building, the real building in Cascais in Portugal, near the sea, people were watching this growing grasses, flowers, moving with some worms, ants, you know, also putting a ice, because in certain moment he cut these things and put the fridge with the water, and then during the project the water is getting frozen and then it's cutting up. So I recommend very much to go there to check. In fact, I have the video here, but I will not spend the time as I mentioned before, because then it's better to go to other project and you can check it out either during my show or later. So then we go to another specific project. In fact, part of the projects were never realized, which I like in a way. They are like a second life projects waiting for the chance to be realized. And in fact, when you are creating the project which are not realized, you can correct it in this virtual space. So this is quite special recommendation, building up a project which are still, you know, waiting, and you can correct them, and it's more safe, in fact, you know, to be honest, than to run a dangerous project and controversial project. So global terrain is another one from this utopia line. I've got the idea about the equivalent of the globe in form of 18 meters diameter ball with the lift inside. I was trying to build up this ball in Warsaw. So you see the map, the form representing a globe, which is located in certain point, in this case on the real globe, in this case in point called Warsaw. So in fact, the globe should be rotated in a way that the Warsaw is on the bottom. So the virtual Warsaw is connected with the real Warsaw. And then it's like a gallery, like a ball spheric gallery with a spheric video system. So the lift, which is inside, lifting you as a visitor to the middle of the boat. Then when you turn your eyes, you see the continents around you. When you put your finger to one place, then you open a live webcam. The idea is that on all continents we have thousands of webcams. So you are opening this slot, the window, to the place, and you see this in real time. So you can open many of them being inside the globe, inside the earth. That was my obsessive idea, that you can check them simultaneously in the same time, and you can mix them. That was the idea, that you have the pre-Kinect technology with my optical sensors, you know, and we are rotating. The project is in two forms, in spheric form, but also I was ready to do it in a regular big room, like a cubic room. So in the second model B, the camera and the sensor is on the ceiling, and you see the flat map of the world on the floor. And when we walk, you are opening, the video comes on the walls surrounding you. So that was the cubic model of global terrain, the spheric streaming live webcam global network. So that's an idea. As you see, those projects which I described, they are not really typical NetArt project. They are not only to connect peer-to-peer people together, more to think about space as a stage, space on different scales. So we were in GPS, we are exploring the urban space. And when you go to the city, there are 16 different locations: Krakow, Warsaw, Luxembourg, Chicago 3 times, Louisville, but also a very special connection between Prague, Bratislava, Berlin, in a multi-place festival. For example, there was a festival was running in several cities together. So GPS was just excellent, and we're mixing those cities together with us. So getting the map of one city, getting the sounds from another city, putting them and checking those matrices together. Here we have another concept. We have the concept of opening channels, live channels in a real time before. Also utopic, let's say utopic project, because never realized. So that's why I call them utopic. They as a potential, they are utopic because they perhaps they can't be realized. But I'm open. If somebody tell me, no, Marek, you can do it, you know, then I ask where, how, who is in charge of this. I'm the author. So those are the speculations and speculations. So you see the globe in the grass now. There's a model for Brazil, for Amazon jungle. Okay, the grass represent the jungle in this case. So, and then you have this axis. Okay, let's go to another project of my student. This is a project by Piotr Madej, the bachelor diploma, where he is considering a solar system. So we go from this globe scale, now we go outside, you know, we go to the outer space, and we go to the really large dimensions. And Piotr make a copy, the model of solar system using Astrolab. Astrolab is an instrument to measure a position of planets, spheres, with all solar and star horizons trajectories. Was invented in in ancient times, but when you remember Copernicus keeping a ball in his hand, this is not the globe, this is not the Earth, this is Astrolab. Astrolab, the instrument to measure spheric kinetics, what I call this. So in 2017, we realized the project building up the spheric video space. The Astrolab was a replica, a direct copy from Astrolab, made from plexiglass with a special mechanism rotating, and in the middle we have a controller XYZ controller measuring the position of the middle of those earth, and you could really navigate. Also, click on the line, and you can check it on the net, because there's a direct link to the intermedia department of Fine Arts Academy in Krakow with all other diplomas. But you can go with this link. You can go directly to description and a movie of Piotr and his great explanation. And you can get the information how it was built up, what patches were used, also exposed during the Audio Art Festival for 10 days in Bunkier Sztuki 3 years ago. So then I've got this special moment in my presentation. We are talking mainly about macro scale. We are talking about global, about the larger dimensions. But I want to go to the really small, which I say micro scale, macro, micro. In English, the same, similar like in Polish, macro, micro. Perhaps the same in Ukrainian. Yes, micro, macro. Yes. Okay, you say yes. So that is the special concern. So we are going from up to the bottom now as a dimension. Yesterday we have a beautiful lecture, and we're talking about symbolic representation of kinetic movement, because in a linguistic phrases and vocabulary, certainly we are using over parametric meaning. We are not using, in many cases, the direct meaning of the term of phrases. That is quite interesting. Also, when we talk about art, in many cases we are using something which pretend to be something else, and that's I cannot. Okay. So what you can imagine what I want to talk. I want to talk about brain music and about the internal network, but especially the network which is inside our head, inside our brain, because brain is used as a very special kind of controller or special source of very complex data. Already in art from 65, that is the first piece by Alvin Lucier, American composer, music for solo performer from 1965, brain-controlled percussion ensemble, because he got the system specially designed for him, which is measuring alpha wave. Alpha wave in a brain activity is responsible of deep relaxation, sometimes it's called meditation. So during his performance, first 15 minutes he spends for relaxation. He tried to be relaxed as much as possible. So then he's getting from the system, from his brain sensor, he's getting a stream of data which is amplified and sent directly to a series of speakers. Wait a minute, maybe I have it with me. Okay, I have a speaker, with me. So it's quite large speaker. Okay, it's a speaker. So when you send the signal to a speaker, membrana start to vibrate, and alpha waves are from 8 to 10 hertz. So they're not acoustic. They're subacoustic, but on the membrana, they are moving like this. So what Alvin Lucier made, he connect membrana with the membranas of drums, timpani, big drum, snare drum. So he put set of percussion instruments behind the audience, put those speakers on top of membrana with some extra element for transferring the vibration. And then after 15 minutes, we hear the single sound of timpani, of drum. And in fact, this is the vibration of his alpha waves. So that's the concept of Alvin Lucier, really amazing concept, no electronic sound per se, you understand? This is a pure acoustic piece. the brain, the electronics is only on the brain sensor converted and amplified, but amplified as a sine wave, you know, as a very simple wave. And then that how he controls. So on the concert hall, you see the composer sitting on the soft chair, you know, with the closed eyes, doing nothing, just relaxing. So in fact, this is a beautiful example, and all other examples when you use the brain activity from the interactive aspect, you don't see anything. So the only thing is to trust that it goes live, because you can doubt easily. So this is my diagram when I'm trying to make a classification and to consider different aspects of brain activity and brain as a as a controller. So we have a brainwave visualizer, brainwave converter, infra and low cycle sonification, which is a very special aspect in several pieces of me. And then you see the list of those pieces. Perhaps some of you experienced the last Formati with Chris Cutler, which was very complex and mixed up with other resources also. But we both, me and Chris Cutler, we were the brain sensor, and we control audio, but also laser shapes live. So you have the list of those pieces. Here it's the scan from my first piece from 2014. And here you have the explanation. I call it metakinesia micro transgressions, because there are many different aspects of the brain waves translating to different aspects. So we are talking about kinetic molecular structure, which are translated from your brain activity to certain vibration of sound, but also video. Sensory deprivation is a very special idea when we are going to the edge of our senses, and in fact moving to the very low frequency or generating very high frequency, we are getting quite bizarre phenomena. And with EEG technology, you can get it quite easily. And what is the most important, you are getting a very special feedback, because when you generate and you control those media, you observe those media, you hear those media. So they are really interactively changing your data. So it's a little bit like a vanishing space. You are following something, but what you follow, it's moving out. So you are in a very specific moment. Also, when you run a solo performance like me, this is quite controversial, because when I want to be very relaxed, perhaps I should lose the control over the technology around me. So I learn and I trained how to split my conscious, to two levels. In this way, I'm able to do it. But in fact, I'm doing this as a kind of canon, as a kind of cascade. I'm starting something, then I'm concentrate on the alpha waves mainly, not doing anything on the technical level. So this is again the same list. Oh, there was one quite nice piece of which is not mentioned before. If somebody is interested, because we run a project with Kawalerowicz Błotny from Warsaw, the ensemble, Journey to the Center of the Earth, based on the famous book, and I'm like a blind person in the front of the audience, thinking all the time, and my thoughts control a synthetic sounds which are surrounding audience. And this is the material for the ensemble behind me who follows those sounds. So this is the order. I'm like a not really present person with black glasses, while the ensemble I thought that I can wear my black glasses, but perhaps I cannot find it. I can find only something like that, but this is not exactly the same story. Okay, never mind. So coming to the next, here is a very special diagram of space interconnected with several of my pieces. So each activity of brain is controlling a sonified stream of data in different speaker. So that's how a 8-channel system is controlled by my waveform, and people are inside. So I explain them that they are inside my brain. Okay, that's a concept to explain this, and then to run it. They are surrounded by my brain activity. So that's the story. Quite spectacular and a very special network example is my piece Double Brain. Made together with Franciszek Araszkiewicz, a former student of mine, composer and pianist and lawyer. He runs a lawyer company in Krakow and in Vienna. So that's quite interesting to be composer and lawyer, not only for copyrights, but also for some other purposes. So you see two brains, and we are interconnected by VPN server. So in fact, in most cases, I'm a host, he's a client, he's on a remote, and we are directing our computers. I'm not controlling my media in my computer. I'm sending a brain data from my computer to his computer to control his sounds. And he's doing the same with my computer. So that's what is called bidirectional control. And usually during the concert, we are using, please click it, and there's a recording of our performance in Morelia in Mexico during Visiones Sonores festival with a really great audience and very big applause on the end. And I'm there, I'm explaining the concept, and then I connect with Franek on the large distance, because we perform always when I'm quite far. So like 7,000 kilometers, like 10,000 kilometers. Then we get connection through the net, and we are controlling, opening in all times, mainly a Skype connection, brain data through VPN, and then you see and you hear. So there's a simple Skype audio video. In all times, when we started in 2015, there was a main platform to get audio and video with the smallest latency. Now we can use some other. So here you have the performers. That's Franek, Araszkiewicz, and here you have the list of those performances from. Oh, it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. 2016, perhaps not 15. You can check it out very easily on the net. So there are 9 different performances using the concept of double brain. So the internal network connected through the line on the large distances, and then presented in a host place, usually during the regular concert, and you can get the final result. Then I have a very nice concept from another student of mine. Łukasz Furman is already the teacher of the intermedia. He designed a very special 2-room interconnected installation, 2 rooms separated by the glass. And in fact, we are lucky because this kind of room was built up in Bunker Sztuki, and we were just with the festival after the close of the exhibition. So we used the spaces which were built up for different purposes. In the first room, there's a person with a biofeedback system, brain sensor. And on the second one, there's a person with VR glasses. First person controls abstract 3D space in VR glasses system. So in fact, by his brain activity, his brain activity controls the medium, and the second person have a controllers to change this. So the altered different space is come back to the first one. So what you see on the left one is already processed image. And when he watch on this, he changed his mind and he controls another image. In fact, this is a video. This is a video abstract stream changing, also quite spectacular on the audio level. He composed a beautiful structure on different instruments and dependent on the brain activity. So when you use beta waves, there are marimba sounds. They are quite nice instrumental sound mixture. But you can go to the project. You can check it out. So this is a beautiful concept of networking of two brain system, completely different than double brain. You see, this is a special feedback between them. They are controlling themselves in another way. So that's well, 2017. Our double brain was 2016, so perhaps there's an influence. But in fact, Łukasz Furman is extremely sophisticated technology. I learn from him a lot of things, to be honest. So that's also quite important information to him, because most of the diploma works is like a really cooperation between me and my students. Then I show you the project of wind waves for orchestra, for youth orchestra and media from 2017. You have the reactive scores, mapping, acousmonium, sensorium, biofeedback, tactile. But it seems to be that it's not really network project, but in fact it is very much. It's based on the improvised material, but controlled, quite specifically controlled, with series of Kinects, graphic scores, generative, reactive system. Orchestra is always following something which is described on one or many screens around, and also their sound controls. So they are a very active element of the whole space arrangement. The image down is generated by Arthur Lees, and it's like a spectral score. So each pipe is one instrument, and when they play, they see that they play. So this is like a game between the instruments, and they control it, and then that's also the score for them. So that's quite interesting. I have a diagram of the piece. It's 1 hour long piece, so it's quite complex, and you can check it out. There are many videos on the line, so you can check it. Also 1 hour interview, 1 hour program when we are describing also interviews with the members of the orchestra, 11 years old percussion player, very personal expressions from the youth orchestra. I love it very much to work with the orchestra, which is especially focusing now for contemporary repertoire. In Radom is a orchestra Oskar Kolberg primary and secondary music school, and they have an orchestra. They have a beautiful large concert hall, multi-level, with a lot of technology. So we did it. So as you see, the last part of the piece is neuron wave, and in fact I wear my brain system, and I show it on the screen, and then I choose from orchestra single performer who follow raw data from my brain. When I'm more active, then the instrument follows the line, and we are playing together, while the other rest of the orchestra is following the static movement of the other waves, playing very slow, soft, making the very special ambient background of the. That's the last thing. Then we are getting the quite complicated project. Tegela means text, gest, gesture, LI is line, and R is ruch, means movement. So there are linguistic, topophonic elements in this piece with the group of teenagers from advanced art school from Warsaw. In this case, they are playing on fruits and vegetables. And those vegetables are talking in different languages, mainly in Latin. So we are getting quite abstract phrases spelled in Latin language. So this you can also click on the link and you can check it out. What's going on with this amateur teenagers? I call them not amateur but alternative performers. That was quite important. I was showing to other musicians, professional musicians, that in many cases they are much more better, much more interesting than the solo virtuoso sections. So this is a very special deal, and rotating. There's a score which is also generated live, directed from the movement of the people. Here you have the diagram of that's the space diagram of the musician, and the trajectories where they moving. What is the KZ is Kazimierz Pyzik, my friend, playing viola da gamba in this and double bass and accordion in this piece. TCH is Marek Chołoniewsky, my oldest son, on drums, on percussion. AK is Anna Kwiatkowska on violin. LHW is Leszek Wiśniowski. Some of you knows those solists, that 4 solists. And then in the middle, we are with MC Marek Chołoniewsky, LL Artur Lis, Piotr Madej. We are 3 as a team in the middle to controlling those 3 different data with objects, with fruits, with Kinect involved here, and the screen in front of us. So that's a main simple diagram. There's a quite interesting aspect in this piece, because I've got the obsession that during the piece we are opening the space. So I ask audience to vote whether they like the music or not. When they put hands up, the Kinect scans the movement of the audience hands, and we start the sounds on environment from the streets moving inside the concert hall. So that is also integral, quite crazy aspect, mixing the natural environment with this very chamber and precisely concerned sound structure inside. Then we have the format, which some of you experienced in Lviv last year during the Dramatica Festival in Lem Station. My entire idea is to create a skeleton of 2 brain hemispheres in a space. So when we have a space, let's try to imagine the left part of the space is left hemisphere and the right part of the space is a right hemisphere. That's how we are interconnected with our brain sensors. Then playing on our instruments, Chris with his drums, I have an artificial drum, a lot of objects around, and all the activity is presented through our brain sensors on those artificial hemispheres. So people with us are inside the brain. Again, the concept to get people involved inside the brain. Of course, most of the people, they have no conscience about this. This is like a map, like a plan, and that's how the internal structure of whole piece and design is arranged. So here you have the bounded biofeedback spheric loops. Sensoryczność powiązanych sferycznych pętli biofeedbacku is also one of many description of the work. We are waiting. We had the plan for this year in Montreal, Venice, in Belarus, in Gdynia. All those performances are cancelled. But yeah, it's the project is still waiting. Then on the end, because I'm coming a little bit to the end, just to giving you the chance to for questions, for doubts. That's one of my last of the diploma with my help by Nina Szukawa. This is bachelor diploma at Intermedia, called Microbiological Soundscape, mikrobiologiczny pejzaż dźwiękowy. The idea is that we human have a lot of other organisms inside our body. Lactobacillus is one of the bacteria living in our body, and they create a separate civilization. They are responsible of metabolism, and that's what we know. And of course, when you are getting antibiotics, when you are sick, then you are killing them. And then after that, you are getting yogurt with the colony of those bacteria to restaurate, to renovate those tribes of bacteria. Millions of them are living inside our organism. So with Nina, we've got the crazy idea that we should try to contact with them, but directly. So that's why I call it Bliskie spotkania trzeciego stopnia. The famous movie by Spielberg is the idea of getting contact with another civilization which landed on the Earth. A very special object staying, and they don't, humans, they don't know how to communicate with them. So we know something about them. We've got with Nina, we've got quite interesting article by Japanese science, and then they found out that when the bacteria are growing, they generate very high frequencies from 8 kilohertz to 48 kilohertz. So ultrasonic, mostly ultrasonic. So my idea was, let's mirror those sounds. Let's make a mimetic copy of those frequencies and send to them. So in the microbiological lab, we built up a special incubation where we have those colony growing up with a certain temperature, with a certain humidity, with the speakers, small speakers, generating high frequencies. And then we make a series of experiments. They were staying many days. And then we discovered that 20 kilohertz is a very special frequency. They're going much more faster than with the other frequencies. So in fact, during this experiment, I said, well, success. We've got the connection with them. We communicate with them. They were active. They were growing much faster than without those frequencies. So that's one aspect. Another aspect which is quite important, that we are getting a special control over them. In fact, we are getting a special control over our body, because these metabolic processes are extremely important for us. They are controlled not really by brain. In many cases, in many articles, you can find that this part of your body, the body with those lactobacillus bacteria, are like a second brain. They live independent from our main brain. They are really independent. So, but they are very much responsible of our mood, of our behavior, how we live, how we stay. So that was the second aspect of microbiological soundscape. In fact, we've got the idea that we should prepare a concert based of ultrasonic structures dedicated to bacteria, not for humans, but for bacteria. So the installation of Nina Szukawa will be presented during the festival now. So you can also check it online, and you can see how does it work, because the diagrams of bacterium development after the stream of certain frequencies, and you can play with them, touching certain colonies. That's the that's the last project I want to show you, which is, as you see, that's quite important for me to show the works of my students, because they are really unique. So this is the primer version on the table. We have 12 using touchboard. We have 12 graphic scores which were sonificated by structures and then translated to ultrasonia. So transcribe, we were making the transcription from our human range of frequency to ultrasonic range of lactobacillus bacterium, just as a special dedication, as a special sound stream specially dedicated to them. So we prepare, the installation is also a special form of concert for bacteria. We are only sending, we don't hear it because our ears are limited on this age. So I think that that's all. Here you have, oh no, that's not all. I thought that that was the last. No, I just want to remind you about my piece called Nothing, where is an example of acoustic vacuum vanishing space. It's even more internal in a symbolic sense, because you hear almost nothing. That what is remaining is the main structure of the piece. But the title of the piece is a special invitation for you to get closer. And when you get to closer, then you are inside so-called acoustic vacuum space, and then you hear the subtle sounds in a very special and very sensitive sounds because you are closer. So that's also, when you link on this piece, 22 minutes long piece, then you can hear something. And that's also the matter of concentration, of meditation, but also sensory deprivation. Example, very much special, very much. So that's all for now. I think that is the last. This is the link to my website, which is quite old. I should update it, but many of the project you can find it also there. Do you have some questions? We have 5 minutes before my planet time, but I'm open. You have most of the answer you have on the PDF file, because when you are interested on certain project which I was talking about, you can go there and you can get more details. I like this silence.
Mr. Marek, I have one simple question.
Yes.
About before I ask you that, I have to say thank you for your great lecture, for your project, and for your participation in pandemic media space project. I have only one very simple question about your project with vegetables. Why they singing in Latin language? Why the vegetables?
Well, this is an object-oriented project. In fact, they are like an organic object. That's why, because I'm using in several projects. There was one installation called Hypermable Objects long ago in '94 in Austria. I was using potatoes, strawberries. They were like a talking fruits. And the meaning they are talking depends on the shape, on the color, and in this especially on this project Tegelar. Wait a minute, I stop sharing. In this project, those elements are extremely important because people are getting a special connection with them, and in this case, we have a feeling that they are talking by touching. So when you touch, you make this gesture, then the reaction is the text. In fact, it's like an artificially prepared text, not in your original language. So that's how you are extended by some phrase which is partly abstract and you don't know exactly. So that's how those alternative performers are communicating each other. They are sitting at the same table and they are talking by Latin, you know, touching vegetables. So it's a kind of quite strange and abstract story. Especially in this project, you know, there are a lot of traps, meaningful traps. You are surprised all the time, and then I ask people to vote whether this is okay or not, which is completely bizarre, you know, because they can follow or they can leave, they can stay. That's a kind of provocation, but not so much. I'm trying to get them involved in a very specific way.
Thank you. But the Latin language reminds me the piece of the Igor Stravinsky, Tsar Oedipus, where he used this language for maybe with the same purpose.
Okay. Oh, then I'm happy. Then I'm more happy.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much. Do you have some other doubts?
Marek, I have a question about Global Mix.
Yes.
Do you plan still to continue this kind of project with sharing?
It's open. It's open. You can send
open.
Yeah, okay. You can send, just follow the text, and then you have the address. You can send me the piece, and then I extend the list. So that it's open container. In fact, it stopped a little bit because, you know, we are doing the other project, but this one, especially this one, is open since '98. It's open. You can load the things. We have more space now on our servers and computers. In this time, that was critical because I was really covered by a lot of material from all over the world. And I remember the first performance during the festival also. I asked my student to prepare all of those files in alphabetic order. And I didn't know, I know nothing about. That was quite important. And he loaded to the computer, and I was performing them like a blind person, you know. So really following the beauty or interesting, less interesting, what I hear. That was the concept. And also in this time, to mix the material was a very big challenge. So I was using on the air studio software for radio broadcasting. And I remember when I ran 50 audio files simultaneously, the computer get broken. So that was the end of the performance of first Global Mix, which was quite symbolic in a way. Global Mix, yes, it's open. It's open. Please send me material.
Thank you.
One or 100 or 1,000, no problem.
Great.
Danilo, I see you. I saw that Danilo was switching on and off. I didn't say him hello, but now I see that he is still present. Any other question? Oh, Danilo. Hello. Great to see you. Oh, you look the same or even younger. Oh my God. How did you find it?
You too.
Well, I cut my beard.
You're
you know,
youngest.
That's how. I cut my beard before the presentation. That's how. You don't see that it's very wide, you know, that's why.
Masking teeth.
No, I know that we can. Yes, please.
But you're back to this. How they translate signal from their no, technically.
But what project?
About bacteria.
Bacteria.
The last one.
Well, the touch board, I don't know whether I have it here. Maybe I have it here or there. There's a small Arduino-based board, electronic board. You can check it, and it has 12 touching inputs. So you are connecting them by regular wires, and you can connect them to any conductive material. Conductive means metal, but conductive means fruit. So all wet material, they are conductive. They are transmitting electric signal. So you can connect to your finger, to hold your body, and then by touching one of those inputs or extending them, the system react.
And they
And
can to measure so high frequencies.
Yeah, but in fact, since the touchboard is not very cheap one, I invented the very cheap equivalent of this. I don't know whether I have it. I should have it somewhere here. Okay, okay, I have it. My nano controller. So, for example, this is Arduino Nano. Inside 8 micro stereo ports, like on our sensors, the same what we are using, and then 8 pins. So in fact, it can be used as a regular MIDI controller, but it can be used as also as a tactile touching controller. You can connect the pin to anything. And this Chinese version of Nano Arduino costs like $3, you know. So the cost of the whole board is a little bit like $5 or $10, maybe $8, which is much cheaper than touchboard. But now you can get it for 300 zlotys. So it's not so expensive as it was on the beginning. And the touchboard is calibrated easily, so it starts to work immediately. I can send you, Danilo, the old information about the touchboard, because that's we are using this technology very much, especially for the student works when you don't have too much time for programming, and it's a matter of stable, you know, work, which is quite important, as you know, for our electronics. Touchboard is quite interesting, because the most important in touchboard is a painting electric liquid. It's black, and you can paint a black and white drawing, and when you touch it, you can wait like 15 minutes, and when it gets dry, then you can touch it. So you can build up interactive picture. You can build up a switch on the wall. When you touch it, then you get the light, for example. You can do it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is electric paint by Bear Conductive. This is the name of the company. It comes with the touchboard. It has all cables, all the things together. Wait a minute, maybe I can show you if I have it here close to me. No, I don't have it here. Quite fast. But I will send you the link, because that would be the easiest way. I send you the link to the.
I put the link in chat.
Yes. Bear Conductive. That's the name of the British company which produce touchboard. I've got a robot instead of this, but this is not. That's another story. Also, Arduino based arm, which moves according. In one project, I'm controlling this arm by brain. So in the piece of wind, I conduct the orchestra by artificial hand button by this technology. But that's another aspect. It's not really connected with the network. But Danilo, let's be in touch, because you know
I see
there are a lot of new, quite
Photopassion.
fascinating things. Any other question? If not, then thank you very much. We have tomorrow next lecture, which I recommend very much. the same time, 12 o'clock in Kiev time, in Ukrainian time, and 11 o'clock in our time. So please join Gosha tomorrow, because that's the Georgi lecture is about algorithmic composition and different strategies involved in algorithmic composition, which is also very intensive and important part of our project, pandemic media space. So thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Take care. Watch out. Put your masks when you go out. Keep the distance. And oh, I see Gosha.
Thank you, Marek. Just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really great. See you tomorrow.
Thanks, Marek.
Thank you, Alisa.
Thank you, everyone, and see you tomorrow on lecture of Gosha.
Gosha, the same time,
Mhm.
12
Same
o'clock.
time.
Yes.
The same link.